Hello everybody, welcome back to 2CTV, your global news channel. I'm Maya Tusi and we have some breaking news coming from South Africa. Over the last few hours, we've been getting some more worrying updates from white South African families and farmers who have had to increase security around their homes and their lands, as some have had to flee their homes. And of course, a number of them recently became refugees and arrived in the United States. This is a crisis that obviously, as you guys know, has been going on for years and years. But in recent days and weeks, it's been escalating to a whole new level. We're going to give you guys the facts of what's actually going on. We're going to debunk some of the claims that is being spread around by the liberal globalist media and the left-wing establishment that is pandering to the ANC and the South African leadership. There is so much to uncover here. Of course, if you're watching this live, we're going to get your reaction during the live show as well. First things first, for those, again, if you haven't really been following this, as I say, it's been going on for a long time, but the recent escalations is also because of the new political candidates and new political leadership that you are seeing on the ground in South Africa that are now creating rallies and making disgusting speeches about advocacy of targeting and eliminating white families in South Africa. And this is what we have to show you. Each one of these white crosses you see in South Africa represents one victim, a white farmer who's now no longer with us. The genocide continues despite the denials. This is just all in recent times. The problem is that over the last few hours, over the last couple of days, news organizations like CNN, ABC, and many others around the Western world in general have been essentially gaslighting the global population by defending the South African leadership. Now, it's completely disgusting, mostly because the evidence is there. We know what's going on. We have a statement from President Trump, which we're going to show you as well, as he has now accepted a small group of white South Africans as refugees after them being targeted. But let's talk about, for example, Julius Malema. Now, this monster, time and time again, has been calling for genocide and slaughter of white people who are living in South Africa. Nobody is taking it seriously. I'm going to show you just a collection of some of the stuff that he's been saying anyway, especially recently. But don't, the fact that we're not going to be surprised, but the international community, the United Nations, all these weirdos, nobody is saying anything. Watch this.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies. Cry babies.
I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now.
I can't give you a guarantee of the future, especially when things are going the way they are.
Subtext.
Especially if things are going the way they are, there will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now.
We are not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now. That means at some future date, we may call for the slaughter of white people. Is that correct?
Let's deal with that at that future date. I don't know what's going to happen.
So you're saying you are not ruling out that in the future, you may very well call for the slaughter of white people?
It may not be me.
Could it be you?
It could be me, yes, but it may not be me.
Yeah, so it could be you. You could, at some future date, call for the slaughter of white people.
Shoot to kill. Gamaza. Kill the poor. The farmer. Kill the poor. The farmer.
A bunch of violent, disgusting Marxists. This level of Marxist, toxic virus that's been going around in South Africa for the past few decades is truly showing its face. It's been showing it for the past few years. The media completely ignores it. We're not going to ignore it. We've called it out before. We have to show you this because right now there is an imminent crisis. The escalation, when we are getting emails and phone calls from white farmers and families in South Africa saying they had to increase their security measures. They had to, some of them actually leave and go into hiding. Some of them have left the country already. There's no support coming from the international community. The government in South Africa are essentially allowing this to happen. Now forget about people like Julius. No, there are those in power right now who are not taking responsibility. Let's go to President Trump. He obviously recently said, he actually did call it a genocide, saying white farmers are being brutally targeted and their land is being confiscated. Then I'm going to show you the facts because it's all about the actual reality on the ground. When they are saying that, well, the white people are controlling all the lands, that is not true. That is not true, and we're going to expose this after President Trump's speech.
Killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me, but white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here. Yeah.
Correct. Now they're spreading lies. They continue to spread lies. The ANC backing crazy communists. They're posting this sort of nonsense, right? Many US Democrats and liberals are citing all these false claims that white South Africans own 70% of the land. 70%. It's not true. You can see every actual document showing that only 22% of the land is owned by the white South Africans. Non-whites own 78%. Now, obviously around only about 12% of the black-owned land in South Africa is actually farmed. Out of that, the 78%, that obviously non-white own it, only 12% of it is actually being farmed. White South Africans, despite only owning 22% of the land, have turned most of it into farmland. This is why it resulted into saying that 70% of the nation's farm is white. That's why they say this. Because all the other land that's been owned by the non-whites, they've completely ruined it. They didn't turn into farmland. Whereas the white South Africans managed to actually maintain it properly. And most of it is farmland. So now they're saying, oh, why are the white people controlling all the farms? It's the farmland that they created from the land that they had. Non-whites, the majority, still own most of the land. 78% are non-white. They've just managed to completely ruin those lands. That's the reality. When they're going around spreading fake news, you have to call it out. So they're saying, well, the white power controls, we're going to have to take it back. That's not true. Now, as we said, some of the South Africans have now been accepted as refugees by the United States. It's a small group, obviously, but it's symbolic. It's President Trump sending a message saying we are keeping an eye on South Africa. Now, It's a sad time when it comes to the lack of media attention, but when the media, globally speaking, the corporate media, pays attention to this, they come up with the most disgusting rhetoric. For example, let's talk about Rick Stengel, who is a liberal in the United States, part of the Democrats, the clan. On TV in America, he justified this genocide, explaining that the white South Africans must be punished for the sins of their ancestors. Collective guilt. This is what actual US Democrats, liberals are saying on TV in the United States in 2025, and they want to be taken seriously. Watch this.
These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history, apartheid. They're not directly responsible for it, but it was a system that actually moved black people off of the arable land. So they inherited the land that the black people had to give up. It was called forced removal. It was something called a Bantustan policy, where they moved black people out of the cities and farmlands into these remote areas with non-arable land. I mean, it was just one of the most worst processes ever. But what has happened in this strange, bizarre world we're living in is that the Afrikaners have become the darling of these right-wing, white supremacist movements around the world. That it's like the lost cause for them. It's like the old Confederacy. They're held up as these white Christians who are being dispossessed of their land. It's like this is a modern replacement theory in a country where, by the way, white people make up 7% of the population.
Can we stop that nonsense? Collective guilt. All right. I don't care. I don't care about your collectivism. That's not how real life works. The current white people in South Africa and the current non-white people in South Africa, I don't really care about your skin color, they are not responsible for anything that's happened in the past. It's the same rhetoric that these communists are bringing into the United States of America. The Black Lives Matter nonsense. Saying, well, if you're white living there right now, then you're responsible for what happened 300 years ago. No, absolutely nothing. And they say, well, I'm 25% black, so I'm going to basically be black. Or I'm half black. For example, Meghan Markle somehow self-identifies as black. I'm not really sure how, considering she's 50% white. But apparently Meghan Markle is black, right? Meghan Markle says, well, I'm black, suddenly. And so I understand what my people have gone through. So 50% of your people went through something, right? The other 50% of your people, according to yourself, Meghan, did harm to the other 50%. So why is it that your 50% white section is not taking responsibility, right? Nothing to do with you. If you're black right now in America or in South Africa, nothing to do with you, what's happened in the past. If you're white in South Africa or America, what's happened in the past has nothing to do with you. Collective guilt is collectivism and it's the work of the Marxists. Now, the leadership of South Africa will now be visiting the White House, as President Trump has requested to have more discussions. This is coming next week, after the Americans have decided to take in a number of white South Africans as refugees. Of course, the South African ANC nutters, the government, are not happy. They are calling those people who had to flee South Africa, they're calling them traitors. So the other choice is to stay, lose your land, potentially get killed, then you're not a traitor. But if you try to save your family, then you're a traitor. Now, this level of violence is normalized in the South African political establishment. These are not some rogue people. These are political candidates. These are members of parliament. For example, let's talk about another member of parliament in South Africa who declared that all white people should be and will be killed. He actually said, well, we don't know how many, but we'll kill all of them and their children. This, I mean, some of you might have already seen those sort of speeches, just as a reminder.
We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything that we find on our women rights. We kill the children, we kill the women, we kill their dogs, we kill their cats, we kill anything that comes.
Now, the problem is not just one person making that sort of speech, which is quite regular. It's everybody else in the crowd who cheer and clap and get excited. So if you want to talk about collective guilt or collectivism in general, why not collective violence? You're promoting it. The government, for a while, turned a blind eye. Now they are promoting it. Now these people are becoming the next leaders of the ANC and South Africa in general. If you think the current leadership are bad, by the way, this is the same people who, by the way, took Israel to the International Court because they said Israel is committing genocide. I mean, I feel so bad and sorry for normal South Africans, regardless of skin color, ordinary normal people who have this government as their representative on the international stage. And what's been going on over the last few hours, over the last couple of days, especially since when a group of South Africans were accepted as refugees in the United States, when the reaction from the ANC was, they are traitors, you know what message that sent to the violent Marxists on the ground? They've been going around targeting more families and farmers. They've had to shut up. They have to leave everything. There is no coverage about this. And also, when they talk about it, for example, on MSNBC, you have these idiots saying, yeah, the white people deserve it. This is what official establishment liberals are saying on live TV in America. Now, guess what they're saying in other countries? If these are the so-called educated, civilized liberals in America, if they're saying this, what do you think others are going to say? The left-wing media establishment in Brazil, for example. Zimbabwe. How's everything going in Zimbabwe? Remember what they did? Now, we'll continue to cover this even if they refuse to actually tell you the truth. Let's get some reaction. Born in Rhodesia, and I hope President Trump brings all of them. They are welcome because they are not crazy woke communists. Anybody who's not a crazy woke communist is welcome. Tyler Terrence, thank you, saying Marxists have never liked white people anyway. Yeah, because they associate whiteness with power. And everything goes back when, well, Marxists and racism that comes from Marxism, deep down it comes from the original problem that Marxism has and Karl Marx had. Classism. Everything goes back to classism, which is extreme tribalism. The whole point of this is that these people see the world's problem on a collectivist level. Everybody's in a collective, right? They don't believe in individual rights. So they say our solution must also be collectivism. All the left-wing leaders did the exact same thing. From Chairman Mao to Adolf Hitler to Stalin, every single one of these left-wing leaders brought collectivism. Some used skin color and nationality based on the collectivism. Some used being rich or being poor, basically, different economical classes. Everything goes back to collectivism. It's the same thing. They're just using different excuses to bring down people. So yeah, they hate white people because they think all white people are rich and successful. It's the same problem that you currently have in the United States and in Britain. It's the white working class boys who are being abandoned by the government, by the establishment, by everybody, because they've been told, well, no, they're white, that they must be successful. Are they? Look at the blue-collar workers in the United States right now, in middle America. Do you really think they're all rich and successful? They all have family values. They all look after each other. They're all independent-minded people. They might not be asking for handouts because they are too proud, but they need help. Super chat saying, thank you so much, Tusi. The outrage is ridiculous and Afrikaners have been suffering for far too long and it's been getting worse. It's getting worse and worse. That's the thing. You know, people have been saying, well, it's been going on for a few years. Yes, of course. But that's not the main issue. The main issue is it hasn't been addressed and it continues to happen and it's getting worse over the last few weeks and months. Now, as I said, there are good people in South Africa and there are white and black and everything else. Purple, all the colors, right? And they can't speak out anyway because of the ANC. The whole of the narrative is being controlled. They're sending out fake information to the world saying, no white farmer, no white person has ever been targeted. They are literally making speeches in public saying we are doing it and we are seeing the evidence. We are seeing the graveyards. I showed you the white crosses. Ideology says, my heart breaks. Why won't the UK, who was responsible for the colony, allow SAFFAs here, or yes, well, South Afrikaners, instead of the boat people? God bless my family there. Yes, actually, ideology is from South Africa originally as well. I know. There's the thing. If you want to look after, if you want to actually claim to really care about actual asylum seekers, actual refugees from anywhere in the world that are actually currently in crisis mode, then why are we not hearing from the human rights groups, all these left-wing groups and charities? Why are they not talking about any of these guys? It's because it doesn't count, does it? When it's the South Africans, it doesn't count. We know why. Because of the narrative I mentioned, the collectivist narrative that they've been going around. Well, they're white. Really. It's not just that, because they're white, it's because the narrative coming from South Africa by the government and by the media, which has been swallowed by the United Nations and CNN, they've been believing it. The establishment believe it. I mean, most know it's not true. Most know it's fake news that the ANC are claiming that, no, everything's fine, everybody's happy here. Oh, white, black, orange, everybody's getting along, right? They know it's not true. But they're like, well, everybody thinks it's true, so let's just not deal with it. South Africa is Rhodesia times 2. Pre-1994, it was an economic superpower, a nuclear superpower. Now, under black majority rule, it's barely able to keep the power on. It's also the element of, again, the left-wing collectivism. When you have your political leadership going with that narrative, and then the solutions coming from socialism, it's not just about what we are talking about. These countries going down. It's not just about the racism you're getting. It's not just about the violence. All this is happening because of terrible, terrible policies, left-wing policies, that are not good economically or socially. They don't know how to run the country, apart from using force. And they are claiming to be a democracy? Really? Will of the people? You care? Since when? Which people? Aaron says, didn't Putin offer citizenship land to South African farmers? Not sure what actually happened after that, because I don't think there was anything materialized after certain rhetoric come from other leaderships. Thank you very much, Francois says. Thank you, Francois, for your support. And SA also says, Rainbow Nation is what the propagandists used to call it. From the safest country in the world to the most violent, what went wrong to the most violent? Yes, well, as we said, we explained. Thought Maverick says, racism knows no color. Yeah. When I was 8, my tiny mother and I were beaten horrifically in the projects of Oakland in the 60s because we were white. There are still a lot of left-wing people who believe you can't be racist against white people. Most of these people are living in very affluent areas. If they're, for example, from California, they're living in the good parts of LA, and they've had their higher education, and they hang around in their own bubble, and they might be hanging around with people with different skin colors and different cultures, but they're all on the same level, economic class, education. So they think that, well, no, sir, I have a friend who's Australian, I have a friend who's a bit Chinese, I have a friend who's a Nigerian, oh, look at me, I'm so progressive. That means everybody is like this, right? All the foreigners are like this. And I've also heard from these guys that, yeah, every single black person ever has been oppressed, which means it's the fault of all white people ever. So you can't be racist against white people. I'll take you to the middle, the central parts of Africa. I will take you to the eastern parts, northern parts of Africa. I will take you to the most of the Middle East. I will take you to even Far East Asia, well, mostly China, and I'll show you racism. You will see racism against all sides. It's not just about one skin color. If you think you have racism in America or in Europe, I'll show you proper racism. Pilgrim Media says, my mother-in-law grew up in Mozambique, Portuguese. Yes, things have changed. Super sticker from Thomas, thank you very much. Let's get some non-super chats. Ian says, funny how we are not seeing all this being reported in our British mainstream media. Whereas if tomorrow or next week, one white South African accidentally, in self-defense, stabs or shoots some other South African who happens to be black in a fight, oh, I can assure you, BBC News and Sky News from the United Kingdom will send their helicopters, do a whole breaking news report. Channel 4 from the UK will send a crew to do a documentary, like in Gaza. The whole of the world will go to the United Nations and place sanctions on white people in South Africa. This is the hypocrisy, the double standards when it comes to media reporting and the outrage you get from the world governments in general. Lisa says, as a South African, yes, it is bad. Apparently, it's fake news according to CNN and the government of South Africa. Dawn says, the left loves illegal migrants, just not those who are Caucasians. They are sick. They are sick. Christo says, I am South African. This is 100% true. Thank you, Christo. And thank you for watching from South Africa. Robert says that the ANC are going the same way as Zimbabwe. That didn't end well. The party of Nelson Mandela is dead today. Well, let's not forget, Nelson Mandela himself and the people around him also spread around a lot of Marxist socialist crap. They are responsible for this level of collectivism that you're getting in South Africa. It's normalized because of people who were following Nelson Mandela, and they were spreading toxic, absolute toxic collectivist narrative in the name of creating equality. That's what they were saying. Oh, this is just we're going to do equality in South Africa. Everyone's going to be happy. Yeah, they really wanted to make everybody equally poor. They couldn't actually manage completely because there were a lot of good South Africans who work hard. There were a lot of good South Africans who get good education, have good family values. If it was a different level of country, if there was a different culture, in for example, a lot of parts of Central Africa, oh, South Africa would have fallen completely. Absolutely. It's because of the good people of the country who work hard, who study, who have good family values, that the country is still standing, just about. There's a lot of corruption. Curly says, as a South African, it feels so good to finally see people talking. Thank you, I really appreciate this. I hope it does something, obviously, when we talk about these things. That's why I do what I do on this channel. You know, as a global news channel, every time I see, well, there's something else happening today and the rest of the media are not reporting, or when they're reporting it's just nonsense like what I showed you, then I'm going to have to do it. We have to cover it properly. Mr. Raw says, that's not Marxism, that's tribalism. I don't think you understand the meaning of the word tribalism. Tribalism is a very broad word. Let me show you what tribalism is. If you understand football, there are people who support, for example, Arsenal, and there are people who support Chelsea, and that's tribalism. Tribalism is just the word of humans who are by nature tribal. Tribalism could be healthy tribalism, just competition, rivalry, and everything else like this. Marxism is tribalism, but tribalism is not Marxism. You see the problem? By nature, Marxism has tribalism inside it, but not all tribalist things is Marxist. This is a classic Marxist mentality. It's violent, it's greedy, but it sells it to you as the champion of equality and fairness. Eye for an eye. Thank you to CTV for covering this. Those poor South African people who have had to flee their country, they should be given every help they need. Best wishes from Ireland. Thank you very much. Did I miss... Yeah, I missed a couple of super chats. Sorry. Jeff says, thank you for covering this very disturbing situation in South Africa. Thanks for the support. And another super sticker from Attila. Let's get back to a couple of non-super chats as well. What is this? Yes, this is true. Didn't they sue Israel? They took Israel to court for genocide and war crimes. Such projections. If I were Israel, I would do the exact court case against the ANC. Just do it. You know, pot kettle, right? They're not going to do it. The ICC, ICJ, these guys are not going to take it seriously. Oh, of course they're not going to take it seriously. Thank you, Tusi, from my South African heart to yours. Thank you very much, Nolene. There's another super chat here. Pilgrim Media says, "Go Manchester United." Yes, well, not this season. We don't talk about United. Not for a while. You're gonna make me cry again. It's embarrassingly depressing right now. Marxist Islamism was meant to be the new global world order religion. Yeah, I mean the only issue with that is both sides, well, Islamists and Marxist socialists, they have the same problem. They are not united enough to actually take over completely. So the only way, for example, a communist ideology was managed to be relatively successful in terms of staying in power for a while was in the Soviet Union, in Russia, not because the socialist method worked, but because the Russian establishment had the central power existing like already in terms of the structure. So most of the time when you look at the establishment in well, the previous Soviet Union or Russia, whenever you had dealing with the Tsars or Stalin's Soviet Union, or even just post that, the establishment in the political structure in Russia, in Moscow, has always been so centralized that it was the only place that you could have a toxic ideology that is based on violence to actually work. Not work in terms of helping people work, but work in terms of staying in power. In most places, it just falls apart because socialism and Islam, both sides, have so many different tribes inside it, so many different groups who hate each other, who start doing infighting. That's why if you actually allow Puritan Marxism, socialism to happen, or Puritan Islam to happen, like you create a land, say everybody do Islam or everybody do socialism, it will fall apart immediately without a central power forcing all the tribes to get along. That's why you can't really have a successful, if you want to call it Marxist, Islamist world order to take over. Now, Islam is one of the oldest ideologies promoting one world government. It's been going on since the 7th century. Before, the Western ideologies also, some of them were advocating for one world government, right? Nobody talks about that. Nobody cares about the old version of one world government. It's because it never worked. It's a stupid idea. Ideologist says, Tusi, there is a graphic online of a South African genocide scale showing it's at 8 out of 10. That's disgusting. As an Afrikaner, I worry my culture and traditions, even my life, is in jeopardy. No future for minorities in this country. Again, the rest of the international community is in denial. Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was informative. Well, obviously sad. We're going to keep you guys posted on everything that's happened, that will happen all around the world, including South Africa and anywhere else that's important. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.